Okay, we are live. This is how to build your own home every Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. or thereabout. Our live chat, Mountain Standard Time. So I want to talk about something today, and then we'll get going as some people come on board and have some questions, and we'll answer as many questions as we can. And if we finish early, great. I want to show you something here. People have been asking about the market economy and what's up. Should I build now? Should I not build now? What's this worth? This is worth 99 pennies. Okay.
100 pennies.
100 pennies. That's right. Well, actually, it's worth less than that. If I were to put this on this countertop, okay, and let it sit there, and I take this brick, okay, and I put that on the countertop, all right, let's say I have a couple of pallets of bricks, and I've got the equal amount of dollars for those bricks. And in, say, a year, 2 years, which one's going to appreciate in value? The brick is. This is going to lose value. This is the biggest lesson that you could ever learn when it comes to being an owner builder. You are taking stuff like this and you're buying stuff like this to build something like this. You're building a home, a place to live in. And the thing about real estate is that it tends to appreciate. It can crash, but it tends to appreciate far better than this. You can go to the bank and maybe you'll get it put in a CD, and that might give you some appreciation. But when it comes to inflation, we are facing a lot of that. Why? Because they've printed a lot of these. All right. When the federal government needs money, it just prints dollars. And when it prints more dollars, everything else inflates. This becomes more expensive. That's probably the best principle, best teaching that I can give when it comes to building a home. And so a lot of people ask me, should I build now? The economy is not that great. Interest rates are still a little on the high side, but you don't want interest rates to drop. It seems counterintuitive, but it's not. It's actually probably the most sound piece of advice I can give you. Building when interest rates are a little on the higher side is actually better for you because it holds the price of goods and services down. While if we had a sudden drop, what would happen, honey, if we had a drop in interest rates by 2 points?
Oh, the real estate market would go crazy. People would be buying up real estate. Then the cost of the real estate, because then everything would be getting bought up. So there'd be low supply and higher demand. And so all the prices of real estate would go up, like we saw on the Black Friday of real estate in 2000.
Yeah, so
2020.
Yeah, so I've been through this many times before. And so right now, to be honest with you, is actually a very, very, very good time to restore, remodel, build new, anything like that. Prices of materials are flatline and labor is flat.
And the interest rate is actually a lot lower than it has been.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's been up to 8% and now it's down to 6%.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty good.
And people are waiting for it to go down. The problem is if those people wait too long and they're really serious about doing something, if it drops 1.5 2 points, it's really going to be a huge inflationary spike. Inflation is supply and demand. That's all it is. If there's more demand on something, that's going to increase the cost of the supply that's out there because more people are wanting that information, more that product or what have you. I mean, lumber was up almost 30% more during that last boom that we had. So I know it seems odd, and I just wanted to reiterate this and take any questions on market update. I'm going to be doing another one probably in December for what does next year look like. And it looks like this stuff is going to inflate in cost. And this is going to depreciate in value. That's the thing we're facing. So the sooner you can actually acquire materials, get materials, and secure your land and buy off your land, you're actually in a better position for being an owner builder. And if you have any questions on finance and stuff like that, I'm not a financial advisor, but I can just tell you what I've been through, what my wife has been through. Just be prepared for things to cost more, because this here is losing its value, because we have 38 trillion dollars in debt, and they've inflated the cost of things because they've depreciated the value of this paper currency. So it's actually better to buy a 2x4 than put money in the bank. As long as that 2x4 can go into the construction of a building. So something to think about. Let's take a couple of questions. I'm going to come back to this to reiterate it. This one here is from, can I read that? John White 2576. Keith, on a renovation, do you paint walls before finishing a wood floor or after finishing a wood floor? Some have suggested to do first coat and paint, then finish floor, then final coat of paint. No, I don't put the floor in until after I get all the walls and ceiling painted. It just is a safety precaution. You don't have any overspray. The minute that wall is painted, its final coat, could be a satin or high gloss or whatever it may be. Then you come in and put the floor in. Then you put the base and case on the floor up against the wall, casing around the doors and all that. And then you paint and trim that, and then you do your touch-up at the same time. It's going to save otherwise they have to cover that whole floor, and there's always some overspray. But when it's just a frame structure and it's the subfloor underneath there, or even the slab on grade, they can overspray on that, and it's not going to be a mess. It's a cleaner look to do it all at once and then do the floor after that. Okay, good question. Especially carpet.
Carpet's last.
Okay, John, when repainting an interior, do you always recommend 2 coats of paint, even when using the same color as originally painted and light color? You can do that, or you can do 2 coats of primer. It really depends on if I'm going to paint over a dark surface, we have a dark wall right back there, you'd prime that 2, maybe even 3 times before you do your finish coat. Finish coat, sometimes the manufacturer recommends 2 coats if it doesn't go on very thick. If it's an oil base or some other base, or even water base, sometimes those ask to go on twice. But I tend to prefer more coats of primer, and then the finish coat, just 1 coat. So hope that answers your question. Josh James. Hello, Josh.
Haven't seen you for a while.
I have a U-shaped 2-story home in Cedar City, trying to decide between turtle louver vents versus ridge vent. How do you decide? I like the turtle vent only because I don't have much of a leak problem, and I can actually put the shingle, if you're doing asphalt shingle, which I think you are, the asphalt shingle fits right over it just nicely, and it's also aluminum. The ridge vents are a little more difficult, and they can catch the wind a little more, and you can hear it inside the attic. But the turtle vents work just fine as long as they're aluminum. If they're galvanized, they're gonna fade over time. I did a home over this way, and I can actually see out the window that the turtle vents I put on were plastic, and they're starting to fade, and plastic can start to crack over time. So as long as it's a metal aluminum, it's going to last for a very long time on the roof. Okay, good question. Okay, Carissa.
Carrie Sarah.
I'll let you say that.
Kaiser.
3741. Okay, 1,600 square feet, new build in Northwest Missouri. Okay, we've been out that way. Northwest. Yeah, we've been out that way. I have a simple floor plan figured out and planning to use a draftsperson to get it into CAD, but need help designing a loft space, basement, and roof line in a cost.
Right, one more. Cost
effective way. Who handles loft roof design? Engineer, framer, roofer, architect.
Draftsperson.
The architect. So if you're in our program, you might want to contact Lonnie. Lonnie's really good at that kind of stuff. He's very affordable, and he helps with the plot plan, site plan, and all the other things that you needed on your home. But check it it's in the download section, and it's listed as architects, engineers, and other suppliers and stuff like that. But check out Lonnie. He's really good at that. Okay. And then Josh, do you follow the 1 to 15?
No,
100.
1 to 150 and the 1 to 300 rules for venting, or just add some where they aren't visible from the front of the home? And do you put gable vents in at the front of the house?
If your house was fit, I'm not a fan of too much venting, although I do believe in some of it. Depending upon what was the square footage of his home.
I don't remember, Josh. I don't remember
how square foot of his home. If let's say, for example, you have a roof line and it is 40 feet long. Okay. I would probably put maybe a minimum of 2, a maximum of 4 turtle vents on that. And I would make that would cover it, so that I now have the escape of heat. So I'm not expanding and contracting that roof. With asphalt shingle roofs, you really have to ventilate them, because if you don't, the nail tears at the asphalt as it expands and contracts, and it doesn't last as long. In fact, a lot of manufacturers will say that you need to make sure you ventilate your roof. But a straight metal roof, it's a different story, especially aluminum. So check with the manufacturer, and they're going to tell you exactly what you need to do.
He has 5,000 square feet. Josh, is that all on one level, or is that the 2-story?
That's probably 2-story.
5,000 square feet.
2-story.
So what would you do there?
Just 4 along a major ridge vent on the back side, so it doesn't show from the front of the home. That's really all you need to do. That's enough to help heat escape. Okay. Good question here. Lukewarm 9121. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
What's the minimum garage floor thickness you'd recommend? Well, it varies. Okay. When a car first enters the garage, that's the weakest spot for a lot of concrete subcontractors. I like to have a thick turn down. So imagine the dirt carved inside the foundation before you pour your concrete. Well, that approach when you first drive into the concrete, I like that to be at least 9, 10, possibly even 12 inches thick, and then it gets thinner and thinner. But you really don't want to do anything less than 5 inches. If you go 3.5, like a lot of people do, with the 2x4 thickness, you're going to have some cracks and problems. I do rebar, number 3, number 4 rebar, 2 foot on center. And I do control cracks in it as soon as possible. I don't like to do the tool joint, which is that V that goes through there, because it just widens and opens and looks terrible. It's not great for women in high heels. I do a control crack cut within 14 to 24 hours after it's poured. And I have had garages poured on my jobs where I do not have any cracks, if you can believe that. If it's thick enough, and then I have at least 6 to maybe 10 inches of compacted road base below all that. I just don't do it on native soils. And I make sure I get some compaction properly done on those, and they thump it very, very well. And then my concrete subcontractors, they vibrate the road base as well on top of it. So with that real stability, you can get a really nice garage floor that's not going to crack and have excessive problems. So at least 5 inches thick. I've seen people do thicker. At the approach, of course, it's even thicker. Okay, good question. Prime time Peyton. Keith, I saw a video where a person's toilet overflowed. City sewer backed up, flowed into the house, didn't have some backflow valve or something. No, it backflowed because the pressure of the septic, or the pressure of the city sewer, was overwhelming the sewer line. It was backing up from the city sewer, and that might be because the elevation was just a little too low, and you were the drain into the main sewer line for the city might not have been a little steep enough, or it might have been not deep enough. And so what happens is if you've got a storm drain or any kind of heavy water and rain, and it fills up the lines. And so I've looked down into sewer lines before, and I've seen them flow with stuff. And during a high use, it starts to rise, even when there's a lot of rain. And so when it rises, that's going to affect your sewer line. So it could back up. That's why one of the things you want to check when you buy a parcel and you're going to connect with city sewer is what is the elevation of the city sewer main line in the street relative to the home or plot that you're trying to buy. And if they're like this and the main sewer is kind of level, you're going to have some problems. But if the house is a couple of feet up, you're on a safer ground that you're not going to have that backflow. That's a really important thing to look at when you buy some land. Okay. Even septics, same thing there. Okay. Can you read that one?
Trunkel?
Trunkel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we're glad you're here. He's saying, why are you not a fan of venting the roof? Planning permalock roofing shingles for the home.
It depends on your environment.
This is a 3-part. You want me to keep reading?
Yeah.
Okay. He's about to start let me put that up there. About to start the office shed build, lean-to roof, 312 pitch, was planning to vent it with the James Hardy vented soffit boards at the top and bottom. Any issues with this plan and tips? And then a little bit more continued. Says, was going to attach stainless steel mesh on the inside of the Hardy vented boards.
That's fine. You're in San Diego, if I'm correct.
Yeah,
and you do want to ventilate it there because you've got a lot of moisture content, not necessarily high humidity, but moisture in the air, literal droplets of moisture in the air versus Missouri where it's just humidity in the everywhere, all over the place, especially if you're really close to the coast. The more ventilation you're going to have, and it's going to be great. You'll come underneath that soffit through that mesh that you've got, come up there. All you need is one vent up there, one aluminum vent. You can get them at a box store, get a black one, and they can actually put that nicely and tucked it in with the aluminum shingle roof when you install that. If you have any questions on that, reach out to me through and take a picture and send it to me through contact the instructor, and I can tell you how to wrap around that turtle vent. So one would just be just fine for you.
When should somebody not vent their roof?
It depends on some high risk areas in climates where you are just cold 11 months of the year or 10 months of the year, and you want to avoid ice damming and stuff like that. Most of the time you want to vent. It's just that if I'm doing an aluminum shingle roof, I'm not going to ventilate too much. I don't really need to, because it's got that quality of keeping heat in and keeping heat out during the right times of the year. And I've seen a lot of people just not be too cautious about it. They don't really go overboard with excessive venting like you would in Phoenix, Arizona. When you're dealing with a hot, dry climate, venting a roof is just almost necessary because you can get a buildup of 140 degrees Fahrenheit inside that attic. And that just does a number on the house, and it's a harder efficiency on the HVAC system. So again, your climate really dictates a lot of what you do and what you need to really do in more abundance versus other areas. Okay. Good question.
Okay, let's see, Josh.
Okay, I don't have electrical, gas, and HVAC done yet, but want to get the stucco, rock, and hardy siding on before winter so we can do drywall and the inside in the winter. Is that a good idea, or get a 4-way done? You can get your framing done. Have your inspector come out and inspect the framing first, and then have them. And the advantage of that is you can actually hang stuff on the outside. And then you can work on the inside with a mechanical, but keep in mind, you want to get the outside done before you start to tape and texture. You can hang your drywall, which is fine. But if you hang your drywall and do all your tape and texture on your drywall, then when you're outside pounding away and putting a lot of weight on the home, that actually can start to create cracks in the drywall. So just keep in mind, it's the tape and texture that needs to happen after all the outside is done. Same thing with a roof.
You have to have the roof. You have to, especially if it's a tile roof, you want to have those tiles on your roof before they put the drywall in.
Yeah.
Because you'll have cracking, you'll have sagging and pushing.
But you can have the roof not on and you can hang.
Yeah.
You just can't do the tape and texture. And so you want to get the roof on. Now keep in mind that some roofs are heavy, like a concrete tile roof that's about 800 plus pounds per 10 by 10 square section.
And that's just putting the tiles on the roof. You don't have to have them in place right away. Just put them on there and then let the drywall people go, because then it's better. I've seen homes with the crinkle because they did it the wrong way.
Yeah, asphalt's a lot of weight. So that's almost half the weight.
Asphalt, tile.
I know, asphalt's half the weight of tile. It's about 350 to 400 pounds per square. Aluminum shingles, 40 pounds per square. Very light. So, okay, next one. Craig Lofgren, in your experience, what percentage of the total build cost is footings and concrete? Probably between 10 and 15%, somewhere in that vicinity. I'm only going off a recent budget I did for a home, and we're at about 450,000, and the footings and some complex things that had to be done were almost 40,000. So probably a little more than that.
So he might have a little bit more. He has a second part. This slab on grade, stem wall, and omni block house. So he'll have a little extra concrete because of the omni block.
Yeah, you're gonna have the slab on grade, stem wall, omni block house. It'll be a little more because of the stem wall, and you're gonna have a little more concrete because of the omni block. You have to fill those cells with omni block. But that could come without the omni block. That could come to between 12 and 18% in that range.
Okay, here we go. This is a good question.
I'm looking at undeveloped land. There's city water nearby, but it needs to be eased through a neighbor's lot. Looks like around 150 feet. Is this a big issue? It's only a big issue if the owner of that parcel does not let you have an easement through there. Now, keep in mind, if this is in a subdivision and that lot was accidentally created as an island, they can't really do that. They can't go to the county and get islands, which means you're isolated and you have no egress or anything like that. So I had a lot like that. I had some clients I was building a home for probably a couple of years ago, and they didn't have property that was contiguous with the road. They put the road in the wrong spot. They moved it this way quite a bit. And then as a result, the person across the street had some of their parcel on the other side of the road because it was moved the wrong way. And as a result, my client didn't have egress or an easement access. So it was a headache. What did we do? We had to go buy part of that land for like 14 grand. She thought it was worth that much, and it was not fun. So either get in when I did power, we worked with the other property owner, and I gave him $500 and he gave me an easement. It worked out just great. So make sure you get it on writing. You know, even if you put power in there, make sure you get it. And you can go to any title company and they can write up an easement for you, power, utility, drainage, whatever it may be. They can draft up an easement for you and have them sign it and get some good considerations, a little bit of money, and you're good. And you've got it in perpetuity. Okay.
And sometimes, make sure you get it in writing. Remember that one up in the mountains? We won't say where, but the other seller had the 3 lots around it, and the power was, I think it was further than 150 feet, but she lived in the Netherlands, so we couldn't even get a hold of her. We sent letters and everything, so we just had to cancel that offer on that property. Yeah,
get the home site selection checklist. It's on our website, how to build your own home. It's free. Get it. Yeah. It's got the list of everything you need to check out.
Right there.
That's the website. Get the list. Okay. Next one, Marcia Marban. We did not get any control joints on our foundation. Should we be concerned? Not necessarily. It's you're going to have cracks in there. The control joints only control to a
Where?
greater degree where the cracks are going to be.
Mhm.
I just had a job done, and the concrete guy said, well, Keith, a lot of the tile guys say don't put the control cracks in. I said, no, put them in my home. And we didn't do it 10 foot on center. We did it 4 foot on center. So every 4 foot in a square, you saw the control cracks. And that really appeased my client because cracks started to come, but they were a lot of them were inside that control crack situation. So I'm a big fan of them because they actually help with defining where the crack is going to be.
That's interesting.
Okay. Carissa Holzer. I'm not saying that. I'm butchering your name. Sorry. Any experience or opinions on clay tile shaped aluminum roofs? Any experience with them crush easily with haul or
Hail.
walking?
Hail or
Hail or
walking.
walking. Yeah.
Shape? Are they clay tile shaped?
Yeah, they're clay tile. It depends on the gauge, how thick the gauge is on that. That's going to be a really deciding factor. I would prefer to go with a flatter profile than there's a high profile S and there's a low profile S. And you want to find out if it's a low profile S, that's even better. But I would tend to go after something that's flat and you can walk on it better. It just will be much better for you.
Even with aluminum flat, how is the hail? Is it warranted?
If you get a aluminum shingle, whatever brand
Depends
you're
on what
buying,
brand.
if there's some dimpled ones that kind of look natural that way, if a hail hits it, it's not going to do any damage to it. What I tend to like to do is I like to get a thicker sheeting material on my roof. I don't do something that's thin, that's less than half an inch. I like to do it closer to a half an inch. And it really helps with a lot more meat on the roof. So there's less give when something hits it. But
is that under the shingle?
That's just sheeting under the shingle.
Oh, okay.
Okay, next question. M. Trunkel.
Yeah.
Okay. Title 24 came back and said 3-point-ton system for my
3.5.
home. HVAC guy was saying 7 to 9 ton. We've never used AC here, just heat in winter. Why would HVAC want such a bigger system than Title 24? Maybe because to be honest with you, when you have a bigger system, it's a little more efficient for the home and it's not running all the time. And when it is running, it's got the meat and power to push the airflow through the home. And I've always found that can actually heat up your home faster. Then we had a small, I think it was a half-ton unit in a home we put, and I got them because they were on sale and they were no longer manufacturing them. So we had to go to a bigger tonnage unit. And so we put it in and it was never efficient. Mm-hmm. It didn't have enough force of air to get to the front of the home. There were cold spots and all that. So the larger unit actually has the capacity for a lot more CFM, which is cubic something per something square foot. I forget what it was, volume. And that there is what's really the efficiency of your unit. Okay.
Okay. This is Primetime Peyton again.
Can you talk about foundation part a little more? Thanks.
Let's see what he said up here. Do you remember what he said up here? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
You do remember?
No, I don't.
Okay. He said this.
Okay.
That's the overflow. Okay. Maybe he just wants in general.
Okay.
What?
Foundation is that part of the home that everyone has it. Everyone has a concrete foundation. I was thinking the other day, I go, boy, if the Romans didn't invent concrete, where would we be today? Because I've seen so many homes that didn't have any foundation. I did a video with my son, and it'll be coming out the next day or so, where we actually showed there was no stem wall underneath the garage. And the garage slab was barely 3 inches thick, really, really, really shallow. It cracked, it buckled, it was sad. So we're going to be capping that whole thing and recompacting dirt and doing a whole monolithic pour over the entire thing, and it's going to be great. But foundations are that part of the build that Some people try to chintz on, and as a result, they've got problems. That's something I just don't mess with. And so I make sure that I have sufficient turn downs. Like for example, if this is a slab on grade and the footing is the outside wall is around the foam, about 8 or 9 inches, and it turns down deep, then I've got a good turn down and I've got good rebar exposure inside the concrete, all that. And so I just don't mess around. I make sure I do it right. So I could
3
talk.
tips. Yeah. What is your 3 like must-haves with foundation?
I love having forms in a foundation.
Okay. Forms.
So when somebody digs the dirt and they level it out, then they put their forms up and they pour their foundation. It's square, it's a lot more plumb, and it's a lot more level. So I've seen guys dig a trench and they get a laser and then they shoot beep, 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 and they put a spray paint along the inside of their footing. But that spray paint has got about 2.5 to 3 inches in thick. So how do you know when you're pouring concrete if you should put the concrete to the top or to the bottom or what? So it's not perfectly level, not nearly as level as a foundation that's formed up. So I know sometimes digging trenches and pouring concrete directly in the trenches with rebar is great. It's fast sometimes, but I'm actually done both. I've done a lot of different types, and I'm more prone to a footing that is not dug but formed up. And I guess that's the best advice I can give you. Okay.
Any 2? And just
No,
that
just
one?
the one.
Okay. One for now.
Okay, Josh, I got the shear wall inspection done. Should I have them do the framing inspection too before finishing the exterior? Yes. They're going to look for nailing patterns. They're going to make sure there's no gaps in the wall on the outside. Just go get the whole framing inspection done before you start adding it on. And up there in Cedar, if you got, it's not necessarily an issue, but they'll look for the nailing pattern on the roof. A lot of jurisdictions are not allowing their inspectors to get on the roofs, but in that particular area, they want to do that for, I don't know why. So double check and see if that's okay to go ahead and get your synthetic on to get it dried in. You probably already have that done. FYI, I'm loving the Permalock roofing I installed on the storage shed. Great.
Awesome.
That's excellent.
Hannah Banana.
Oh, we haven't seen that one in a while. Hey guys, long time no see. When getting a loan, are we asking for build cost only? And I heard the first draw is small, so have enough funding for the first draw to front subs. Yeah.
Build cost only. You want build costs and labor. You want the estimate.
Well, it's all the estimates that you get.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you use the budget that I have in the download section, you're gonna be really, really in good shape. And by the way, there's a new budget there. I uploaded it 2 weeks ago. So if you're in the program, make sure you download the new budget. Use that budget. That budget's gonna have at least a 10% contingency, and that's part of your build cost. All right. Although you don't plan to use it, more than likely you end up using some, if not all of it. That's part of your budget. And then there's some other contingencies inside that budget. Do not, and this is the best advice I can give with budgets, do not shave your budget at the front thinking you can build for less.
There's always something that comes up, always unexpected. Yeah. You have to have your budget in place. For sure.
So listen to that budget. It's highly detailed.
And then you say the first draw is small. I guess if you're just doing your first draw, maybe it is. Well, I know sometimes you have half the land if your land isn't already paid for, and then you've got your architect or draftsperson. What's usually in the first draw?
If you pay those out of cash, then
it's cash, it's better.
You can get reimbursed if you're using it as down. But just follow that budget and listen to the video, and you're gonna be on your way. Okay, Kim Winter, 507. That reminds me of Levi Jean's 501s and 507s. Ponca City, Oklahoma. Home is at 5K square feet with bathrooms on each end of the home, 116 feet long. we will have two hot water tanks in the center of the home. Thoughts on circulating pump for the hot water? Don't you have any gas in that area? Is that going to be electric? Is that why you're going to have two hot water tanks that are electric? If you have gas in that area, even propane, I would go with tankless, because then you take the cost of two tanks and put them into one, and then you've got your continuous, everlasting hot water. Find out about that. It depends on where you are and if you don't have natural gas or propane. But I'm not a fan of two tanks or per se electric tanked water heaters. They go out. My sister's suffering from that right now, and she's gone through many tanks already. I'm a big fan of natural gas or propane gas to heat hot water. They last forever when they're taken care of.
And I guess it depends on how much sediment is in you. We have a lot of hard water here, and you're supposed to drain the water heaters every year, but who does that?
Well, we have a soft water system that helps. But you said thoughts on circulating pump. Are you talking about a recirc? So what that means is the water goes to the first place you want it to go to first, and it recirculates back into the hot water heater before anything else. And that's really good. Do a recirc on that whole system and talk to your plumber about it. If they're not informed about what a recirculation pump is, tell them you want it and to go figure out how to do it. Because typically most people just don't know how to do that. Like we have a recirc system in our home up in the mountains, and it hits our master bedroom first. How fast do we get hot water in our shower?
We get it fast.
Really, really fast. Kitchen's a little slower, but we wanted it that way. We wanted to wake up, get in a hot shower, and be on our way for the day.
It's not even that slow in the kitchen.
Yeah, it's not that slow because it comes right.
Seconds.
It comes right from the master right into the kitchen, and then it goes to the other kids' rooms after that. Okay, good question. Okay, Alido text twins. I guess I hope I said that right. What are your thoughts on shale soil? And do you have? Do you think stem wall or a CMU poured and reinforced the built basement is feasible in
Dallas Fort
Worth area? We're going to get it engineered. Just wondering if you attempt. Shale is a very, very hard compacted soil. I mean, it's like really fine chalk, compacted super hard. When it dries, when it breaks off in flakes. Very stable soil, but double check with your geotech if there's not anything inside that shale, like a lot of organic matter or something like that makes it hard. When you read your geotech report, even though it's 14 or 18 pages long, there's going to be a description in there in the narrative format in a paragraph, and it will say over-X, recompact, something like that. Actual description for the excavator on how to ameliorate that soil if it needs anything at all, or if you can just dig right on it. I do know in a lot of parts of Texas, they don't even use geotech reports. They're confident with the soil. I can't say for your area, but I know in a lot of areas where they just didn't even bother, and they just dug their trench and poured their foundations and went on their merry way. And a lot of parts of the country, it's not that case. But I do know shale is almost like caliche in our area. Caliche is super hard, almost white. It's like a white rock substance, and it's super hard. And so, yeah, look at your geotech report and always follow that before anything else. Okay. Okay, let's see. Roberts, 2024. Hi, Keith. And let's say, Keith, are you someone who changed careers to being a GC early in life? Would you have made that change later in life, say in your 50s, asking for a friend?
How old were you?
So
we were both educators. We both were educators.
Yeah. I was in education, and I told this story on a podcast the other day ago. And my story is just simple. I was in higher education, and somebody moved my cheese, and I quit. And I went in and got a job as a produce clerk at a local grocery store. And then I I left that and got a job as an apprentice electrician. And I was in my 40s. I don't know, probably mid 40s, probably somewhere in my mid 40s when I did that. So I was close to 50. And one thing led to another. And I was pretty successful in the nonprofit where I started to work after being an apprentice electrician. And the neat thing is I was experienced and I was old, and that's going to be in his benefit. But I would not shy away from actually trying to learn a trade real quick. Just go in for 6 months. You're young, you're healthy still. You can keep up with the young bucks. You really can if you're healthy. I can still keep up with electricians today. It wouldn't be fun, but I could do it. And then learn that trade real quick. And then you have that experience where you could actually manage a job site, because the electrician or plumbing or HVAC, something that's of the mechanical side, because then you're working through all the frame structure. You're there at the beginning, you're there at the middle, you're there at the end. You see the whole process of the build site. If you're just a roofer, you're only there for the roofing. You don't see anything inside. If you're a finished carpenter, you know nothing of mechanics and nothing of framing and nothing of foundation work. But one of those three trades, plumbing, HVAC, or electrical, helps you really identify with a lot of the trades, because you're there at the beginning, middle, and an end, especially electrician. You're the first to show up and the last to leave, just about every time on a job site. So don't be afraid to learn a trade and spend 6 months as an apprentice electrician. Take the course you might need and learn it. I never went through any coursework as an apprentice electrician. I wasn't required. All that I needed was just to register for a class and say that I was going to take a class next semester and work under a journeyman. That's all. I did that for 6 months, 8 months, and I did 40, 50 homes I wired in that period. It was a lot of work. But as a result, I learned how to wire, and I was able to wire my own home. I don't do that now as a general contractor. I have to be a licensed electrician. But if you learn some trade like that, don't be afraid to pick it up. Man, you pick up the ability to see, and you can ask so many people, so many things about foundation work, framing work, everything else. That's what I did. It was my saving grace, being able to just jump into a trade real quick. And then I was able to talk about the whole building process. So I'm trying to get the HVAC guy to build the system to a 5-ton. Furnace will be an attic. Do you recommend the furnace to be suspended from trusses or on the attic deck? It's going to be suspended because it's going to vibrate every once in a while, and you're going to hear that. So it's got to be suspended. And then there'll be a catch basin underneath it for any condensation that might happen, so it can evaporate in that pan. What about minimizing noise? That's what I'm saying. If you put it right on that truss system, you're gonna hear it. So they're gonna hang it from the trusses. Okay.
Can't remember what he was saying.
4-ton geothermal on 1.2 acres. That's pretty cool. I'm actually dealing with that right now with a client. He's got geothermal that was existing.
Oh yeah.
And we piped it into the mechanical room. And now we just have to do a PSI check on the entire system to see if it still holds water. If it does, then we've got to figure out how to tap into it, because it's down about 8 feet, maintaining a constant temperature. And so when water up in the high mountains is super cold, run it through the geotech system or the geothermal system to help balance that temperature up a little bit before it comes inside the home. I don't know how we're going to utilize it, but I'm kind of excited about it.
That's what he's asking. Like, what is geothermal? What is that?
Geothermal is when you take air or water and you put it underground in a pipe at a certain depth. You capture the constant temperature of that and you bring it back inside the home. And I've done that with greenhouses. I've done that with homes. So it's supposed to save on the initial heat up cost of a home in the winter. Like I've seen a gentleman have a greenhouse in the Dakotas where he had geothermal air under a field that was like 9 to 10 feet down. They forced that air through that pipe. It captures the constant temperature. And during the winter, that's going to be warmer. So when it comes into the greenhouse, it's going to help offset the cost of heating that greenhouse just by having a fan blow. That's geothermal on an forced air system. Okay, good question. Pronto builders. Yeah, it's not uncommon to have the subs ask for how far they want the basement stick out of the ground. New builders wouldn't know how to calculate that on a grade. Yeah. As long as if you're in a frost area, you're going to want to make sure you're below the frost depth required. But other than that, I just texted a client and I said, hey, client, and I said, if you got some time tomorrow, I want to talk about the front porch. We have some options on elevations and what you want to do. And if we can avoid stairs, here's what it's going to look like. But if we don't do that, we have to have stairs. And here's what it's going to look like. So hopefully I'll maybe do a video on that and talk about that tomorrow. Okay, Josh, I need to get my deck posts and beams stained. I've heard many stains fade. What do you recommend? They are going to fade in the sun. It's just the way it is.
It's part of maintenance, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
You just go back and restain them.
Yeah, just restain them. If I do 2 or 3 coatings on it, it seems to last a little longer. But if I have painters just do 1 coating, it doesn't work as well, especially if it's rough sawn timber. If it's rough sawn timber, it's going to soak up a lot of stain, a lot. Okay. Okay, EMQ8W, QZ8WJ. Okay. Hi, Keith. Does the slab on grade foundation need footers? Yes, it does. Also, does it need a French drain around it? It depends. It depends on what your water table is or what your drain off is in your home. It's never a bad thing to have your French drain. However, I would take rain gutter spouts and I would have them connected to some underground drainage system and take it away from the home. That's what you're going to do. That's what will save your home over a long period of time, getting the water away from the home. But yeah, you can either have the footers poured first and then form up the slab on top of that, or they just do a monolithic pour over the whole thing, which I'm not a fan of. But yeah, it does have, everything has a footing. Everything has a footing. Okay.
So the heater person said she's on propane.
Oh, okay. Talk to your plumber and ask them if they're familiar with a tankless water heater. And there's a lot of different brands out there. And because I only mention that because you're going to put in 2 electric systems. Ask them to combine them, get rid of them, and put in a tankless water system. And the propane, I love that system, and it's not going to cost that much more for the propane. And you just hook the propane up to just that, and then your sink and stuff like that. But you're going to have endless hot water. And we've had propane in ours for a while, and it lasts a while. Mm-hmm. You just fill up the tank once a year, sometimes twice if the kids stay over a lot.
Depends on how big the tank is too. We got a good tank. Okay. We didn't know how many. Okay, this is 2-part.
Okay, Trunkle. Okay, M Trunkle. Oh, I added a comment on one of the modules. Would you be good to have spreadsheet or list of decisions that need to be made and in what order? And in what order? Windows, doors, roofing. Yeah, I'll try to answer that tonight when I go home.
And then cabinets, faucets.
Cabinets, vanities, faucets, lightings, fixtures. Yeah, not a problem. But for those of you who don't know, if you're not in the program, you can actually reach out to me through the platform and ask questions. And the neat thing is you just see everybody else's questions and you can read those responses. Okay. Hello, Keith. Jim 3317. I just purchased the self-managed course. We are looking to start the process of building on raw land. I received 2 proposals from surveyors around $12,000. It includes PERC survey surveyors. It's probably a geotech person.
Oh, he's got another one.
So, and working with the health department and town to get the land ready to build on. Do you think that's reasonable? Go back to that price.
12,000.
Yeah, that's really high. What's your square footage?
Yeah, and how many acres, right?
Yeah, go back to that. How many acres?
It doesn't say.
No, it's the first one before all that. Okay. It's a little
Jim?
Survey can be around $1,000. That's still $1,100 for
27 acres.
Yeah, 27 acres. Yeah.
27 acres.
Get another bid.
Well,
Just get another bid from somebody and find out what it is. But
he's received 2 proposals from surveyors around 12,000. What are you trying to do? Is he trying to put a whole development in?
no, he's got proposals for survey work and geotech work and all
survey
that.
and jury.
So it doesn't seem to be too bad. It's just a little high for my comfort. I would try to get another bid just to see. But
And maybe where are you? Like,
Yeah.
would the mountains be different than a city? Or-
no, it's
Okay.
but just get some more bids.
Yeah.
Some areas are going to be higher than others, and I'm lucky to build in an area where my costs are a little more even kill. So,
Okay.
and you can ask other people what they think of the price. In my area, it would be just a little on the high side. FYI, 2 of the best quality of life home improvements we've done in past homes. Number 1, whole house fan, cool, quiet, cool. 2, whole house water filter and water softener. Yes, very good. Yeah. Okay. Todd Root, 1757. Almost like 1776, but not quite. I just purchased your First Steps course. That's a great
welcome,
course.
Todd.
Make sure you look at the module. The last module has a coupon code for the self-managed course. So don't forget that. I've seen too many students take the First Steps course and not get that coupon code. Okay. Let's take a few more here. Hannah Banana. Okay. But do we get the bank loan with the GC fee included? Yes. And I'll tell you why in just a second. Or just a build cost alone. Would be worried about appraisal being messed up. Hope that makes sense. If you don't get that GC fee included, because you're going to pay yourself, you're not literally going to pay yourself. You're going to include that in the budget. So when you do take it to an appraiser, that's included and it pushes that appraisal up where it needs to be. So make sure you put that GC fee in, and don't be afraid to go 13%. 13, 15%, but do not go below 10%, but put that in there. Okay. That's the real value if you were to buy it in the open market.
That's your equity you're getting.
That's your equity.
You want to get as much equity because then that will keep your, different fees down, PMI, different things.
And then if you end up using it, hey, you can do some special things with that money if you end up needing it on top of the contingency. So it's added buffer if for some reason you need it.
Okay? Or save it and you have a smaller payment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Carissa Holsire, 3741. Okay. You 2 are the cutest. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for doing these lives, sharing your knowledge, and for awesome program. You're welcome. And thumbs up and subscribe. We appreciate that. Let's take a couple more.
Hannah Banana just told us this. I didn't know this either. That YouTube has changed usernames around. And it was like, oh, that's what happened.
Oh, that's what happened with the usernames. Okay.
Okay. Whoops.
Okay.
Something's going crazy here.
Yeah. Just click
sorry.
on that.
I'm trying.
It will go away.
Okay. And there's another. Thank you.
Let's answer this question. Thank you immensely for sharing your experience, advice, and encouragement. Our pleasure. Our pleasure.
Here we go.
Let's take a couple more here.
I'm going fast.
Movie theaters from the 30s and 40s were built with geothermal cooling. They really worked. Still had boilers for heat. Correct. Yeah. Is it necessary to waterproof the transition from the foundation to the first omniblock layer? That's a really good question. It wouldn't hurt, only because that's a cold pour joint, meaning that if flood or whatever comes against the home and you've got that first omniblock there, then that's a cold pour joint, and that's where water is most prone to get into the home, especially in a slab on grade. So you can get some products and all there that wouldn't hurt to have that little transition covered. I use a decking product material, something that's got a primer base on it, something with a felt mesh. I wouldn't use any tape products. I use a liquid applied product, and it's going to stick in there a little better. But it's not a bad idea, especially if you are worried about water coming into the home, like in Florida. If you're got a high water table, you're using OmniBlock, it wouldn't be a bad thing to seal up that transition, even 1.5 feet up. That wouldn't be a bad thing. Okay. I can dig in and prep before footings, and down the road purchase the system for the mechanical room later. Okay. All right. All right. Next one here.
Okay.
And yes, the self-managed package is well worth it. Peyton and I are breaking ground in early spring. We're excited. We're excited. We're excited.
That's exciting.
Okay, that's it. We'll end there. Please like, subscribe. We like that. And if you have any comments or questions, you can't be on live chat. We know that we get hundreds of people who view this live chat later on during the course of the week. If you have a question, contact the instructor at that website right there. I'll print it up and then I'll read that question. I had one, but I forgot it. We're not at our regular home right now.
Today got crazy.
But I will print them up and I can read those questions and you can come back and I'll read those at the front so you can come back and hurry and watch it and get your answers, your questions answered that way. Appreciate it, guys. We'll see you guys next week.
Have a good weekend.
Every Thursday from 5 to 6 Mountain Standard Time. You guys see you guys. Bye-bye.